First of all, I wanted to thank all of you for coming out in the rain, to come out to see this demo. I'd like to thank Elizabeth McConnell from Turning Technologies for driving down here and giving us a show and tell here. Just so that you know, I have had some conversations with Liz, is that?
Yes.
And she knows that this is not a cold call in terms of just a fresh install. At the same time, she also knows we have not made any decisions here, that we're simply exploring, seeing what's possible. That said, I invite you to ask whatever questions you feel you want to know answers to about how certain things work. By the same token, Liz, you're free to kind of query us in terms of what you want to do. It's very informal for as long as you need, and then we can open it up to questions throughout, I would imagine, if you're okay with that.
Yes.
And without anything else, we'll turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, John. My name is Elizabeth McConnell. I'm the account executive with Turning Technologies. I handle all of Ohio, West Virginia, Maryland, and DC. So I work with schools in the area such as University of Maryland, College Park, and also George Washington University. And I've structured my presentation a little bit differently today. I'm just getting right into what is Turning Point, who is Turning Technologies, not so much what the pedagogy behind using clickers, because you already know that because you're here. So a little bit about who Turning Technologies is. We are based out of Youngstown, Ohio, which is about 300 miles northwest of here, about halfway between Cleveland and Pittsburgh. We have over 2,200 colleges and universities throughout the country using our technology. And we also have a direct dedicated sales force. So I work just with colleges and universities in my territory. So that way we understand a little bit more about what you're facing on a day-to-day level. A couple of awards we've received: #1 fastest growing privately held software company by Inc. magazine, and also we made Entrepreneur's Hot 500 list. Why? Listening to different feedback from our customers, structuring our products in a way that meets their needs, and also designing it for real-world users. So here's our first Turning Point question. Each one of you have one of our RF response cards in front of you. Its radio frequency does not need a direct line of sight. Did anyone bring an iTouch or an iPhone? I see a couple laptops out there. If you do want to go to rwpoll.com and enter in this 6-digit session ID.
RWPoll?
Yes, rwpoll.com. So a little bit of current events here. Yes, yes. Once you set one of our response cards to a channel, let's say a student only had one class this semester that was using a Turning Point card, it would just stay locked on whatever room the professor was in, or whatever channel the professor wanted to use. And I'm actually going to pass my phone around here so that way you can see what it looks like on an iPhone. So here I have the iPhone app on my phone, so you can see it has the question and also the answer selections there. You can just skip the user data section. Uh, 353092. Thank you.
Guess first name, last name?
Oh, you can skip that part. All right, are you connected or?
I'm connected.
Okay.
Did everybody click yet? Everybody responded?
says 11 responses.
All right,
So
I'm
it
gonna
doesn't give you a grid, it does if you
Yeah,
want.
you can put a grid up there. So you can see right now, I just, the guests are individuals who are connected via ResponseWare Web, and then the other numbers, like the F4063, it's the 6-digit device ID in the back of the card. I don't have names tied to them because it's different names every day.
You just press the number.
Yes, and then there's a green light that flashes as confirmation on those cards. I'm going to go ahead and close polling. And as you can see, charts are displayed immediately on the screen in front of you. So it looks like we have some people that were paying attention to the news. Correct answer was Richard Phillips.
Sully up there.
I should have. I should have.
Make it harder.
Would have been like, which hero is it? Is it Richard Phillips or is it Sully? So you can see that it's fully integrated into Office 2003 and 2007 for our most recent release of Turning Point. So you just click to proceed just as you would.
Shows the results on the screen.
Yes, it does. Good point, thank you. Yeah, it does also show the results on the student's laptop screen or on their iPhone or on their iTouch. Because I know sometimes if I sat in the back of the classroom, I had a hard time seeing the front, so you have it right there. So what is necessary to use this technology in the classroom? The first thing is our Turning Point software, which is, we have Turning Point Anywhere for the Mac, which allows you to use Office 2004, Office 2008, and Keynote. And then we also, for the PC, we have Turning Point and Turning Point Anywhere. And they're all free downloads from our website. So you need the software.
Well, I'm sorry, maybe my attention was wandering, but that question that we just did, was
Yes.
that in your software, or was it in CPS, or?
That was in Turning Point, which is our software for our audience response system, yes.
So we have to use that software to write questions, and
Yes.
how does it integrate with PowerPoint?
Yes, it's fully integrated into PowerPoint. Actually, I can exit out right now, and you can see I have an additional ribbon, or a ribbon in Office 07, but a toolbar in 03. So you can, it's very seamless. Do you want me to show you? I'll show you how to create a slide, actually. Go right here to Insert Slide, and select Vertical. I think vertical is the easiest one to see. So type in vertical, and
Now, if I already had a PowerPoint slide that said that,
Could I just somehow make it so, or make it become one of these? Or?
yes, yes, you can convert existing. So just like that, I created a Turning Point slide from scratch. You just type in the header and type in the footer your questions and answers. Now, like what you would, I'm sorry, I didn't get your name earlier. What was?
Mark Perks.
Mark? Okay. Like you had said earlier, like if I have an existing PowerPoint slide with a question. So if we had a title and text here, you could type in a question. What day is today? So right now I have a plain blank PowerPoint slide, heading and body. I want to convert that to a Turning Point slide. Highlight your answer selections. Go to Insert Object, Charts. Select any one of these 6 charts. And just like that, I converted the PowerPoint to a Turning Point interactive slide.
The reason we're all asking is because if we have PowerPoint with a lot of questions embedded,
Yes.
getting it into Turning Point is not a problem. We don't have to type a lot.
Right.
Same thing true for cutting and pasting from a Word doc, Word doc.
Actually, we have something called a parser, which takes any Word document. I know it. You know, I'm just going to make a new parser document. I'll show you how. So here you have a question. So here, let's say you have questions within Microsoft Word. You take the question, set that to heading 1, take the answers and set those to heading 2. So I'm just going to copy and paste the same question a couple times here just for the sake of time. So I save that as my Parser document. I'm going to close out of here. I'm going to go back to Turning Point, and under Tools, I have my Turning Point Parser. So you can import from QGI, Word, Excel, XML. So I'm going to import from a Word document. I'm going to select my Parser document right here from my desktop. I'm going to click Open. And it wants to know, do I want to add them to the end of my presentation, or do I want to make a new presentation? So I'll make a new presentation. And I believe I pasted the same question about 4 times.
So Liz, if we had faculty, I'm not sure why they would do this, but say faculty had quiz questions in a Blackboard quiz pool.
Yes.
And downloaded them to Excel and formatted it to, you could take Excel. I'm not saying automatically.
With a couple of conversions, yes. And we can also import from the Respondus test bank as well into Turning Point.
So if faculty wanted to have a quiz pool or a pool of questions, some to be used in class and some to be used online.
So they'd ask certain questions in class and then the other ones online.
And if the source document was all Excel.
There would be modifications, but I don't see any major red flags as to why it wouldn't work. So as you can see here, I took my 3 questions from Word and flipped them right into Turning Point. Any questions so far? Okay. I haven't lost anyone, have I? Okay. All right, so you need the software, which is a free download. Either one of our response devices. Now you can use all of our response devices in what we call a hybrid environment. So you can have some people that are using the RF cards that you have in front of you. Some people can be using these XR cards with the LCD screen. And we also have some people that can be using Responseware Web all in one environment. And then also, if you are using the response cards, you will need a receiver.
So tell me what's happening here when we're using the cards.
Yes.
We're interacting directly with your laptop.
Yes.
But when we're using the Response Web, you are pushing out to the web
Right.
Taking back.
simultaneously what you're saying?
Yes. Within our settings, if a professor were to use Responseware Web in their class, they would go to Tools, they'd go to Responseware. And if I log out of here, what it'll do is it'll reset our session ID for anyone who's already connected. But I'm going to go ahead and... So right now, Responseware Web is hosted on our server at Turning Technologies. It just, we don't collect any information. It's just where it's housed. Each professor would have a username and password, and they'd log in at the beginning of every single class. So you'd obtain a 6-digit session ID, which is unique to that class. It'll change every single time you log in. And then that's all they have to do for Responseware Web. And then it'll also, you can put a login slide in here, Responseware login, and put that up at the beginning of class. And that way students know what channel you are in for the response card and what session ID you are for Responseware. And then VPad, it was the prior product before we released ResponseWare.
So if I use my iPhone,
Yes.
you can or you can never know what my identity is.
Yes, you can know.
You can require
A login.
a login.
Yes, yes. With the individual student licenses, you have an 8-digit device ID. So you can go then and register that in Blackboard like you would a clicker. So that way you know that 8-digit device ID is tied to John Fritz or Elizabeth McConnell. And then that way you can also export to the Blackboard gradebook. Right now I have it set up as a guest account, so any wireless device that puts in the 6-digit code can connect to my presentation. Just as responding anonymously. It's an equivalent setting that I have for this presentation.
So the login for his iPhone would have not, if he were a student in my class and I want him to identify himself.
Yes.
He put in either his name or his iPhone ID, his unique iPhone ID.
Okay. Each ResponseWare web, they have like a serial number, just as you would a clicker. So if you register that on Blackboard, then it'll create the participant list. So it will pull that serial number from ResponseWare Web as tying it to John Fritz as your Blackboard ID.
Doesn't have to do anything.
He doesn't have to do anything. I mean, you can put your name in, like when it asks for the data, you can type your name in, but the Blackboard will always override that.
When, I know people did, but there was a first name, last name, and then user data.
Yes.
Is the user data where I would have that ID number?
No, user data would be, if you have a school, like your ID code or your student ID number. If I just had a 30 license and everyone just came in just as picking up like a box of clickers at the beginning of class, that's like the equivalency. Any other questions right now, or? Okay.
So it is well integrated with the Blackboard, I guess.
Yes, we do have a Blackboard building block where the students would either go in and register their ResponseWare web ID or the 6-digit ID on the back of the clickers.
And then if they didn't register, they wouldn't be able to participate. You could set it up as an instructor so that if they didn't register in the Blackboard site, they wouldn't be able to participate in lectures that day.
Right, right, because you won't know who's responding. I mean, you can lock out so it's participant lists only, or you can just have it so you have your participant list, but then you're going to have guest 1, 2, 3, guest 1, 2, 3, 4. So they won't be able to get credit. Yes.
Is there a maximum number of classes they can use this for? Or
No,
courses?
it's unlimited.
Unlimited.
Unlimited. Yes.
Is Blackboard the only way they can register for the course?
No, we also have another what we call a web registration, where the students would register just through the Turning Technologies website, just as a window, and you would get it would create the participant list for you automatically. However, we do not collect any information when they do that.
What may be driving that question a little bit is that we've had some challenges with how students register for clickers, and
Okay.
have sort of adopted, I think, the practice of really encouraging them only to go through Blackboard.
Right.
Yeah, it would even be better if you could turn off the website registration and
Yeah.
be only permitted through.
The website registration that we have, it's a little bit different than the one that you're used to. We don't promote it unless somebody asks for it. So if they're on Sakai or Angel or a different LMS that we currently don't have an integration for.
When you mentioned Angel, that's what I saw when they showed us this before at a conference.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So if they're using an LMS that we currently don't have an integration for, then they use this as an alternative. So, but yeah, we could make it Blackboard only here.
What does Angel mean?
Angel is another LMS.
Several course management systems or learning management systems.
Oh, I see. It's like WebCT or something.
WebCT,
Yeah.
Blackboard,
Yeah.
Angel, Sakai, whatever, and they have to be able to support a variety of them because not everybody uses Blackboard.
Right.
Yes.
Well, if they keep up the way they're going, it won't happen either. So,
They're in a bit of disarray also,
yeah.
that company, I mean.
Blackboard is?
Yeah, they're shooting themselves in the foot a little bit.
I'm sorry, did you have a question? Oh, I thought I saw your hand up. I'm sorry. This was a question I made right here. So all of our different response devices, we have the RF card, which you have right in front of you. We have the XR card, which is right here. It has an LCD screen on it. I only have 2 or 3 of them, so I will pass them around. I'll start one here and one up here. And then also the Responseware Web. And we also design input devices for visually impaired students or students with special needs. Our RF card does also come in a Braille format. So instead of the flashing green light, it does vibrate, and then the Braille is just to the left of each button on the response card. And then also Responseware Web works with screen readers. I didn't bring any Braille cards with me today, though. We have a limited inventory, so they don't give them to the salespeople.
Can I ask you a question about the cards?
Yes.
We use it just for an orientation activity,
Yes.
and so we only use it twice a year.
Okay.
What's the battery situation, the difference in the batteries for these two?
The RF cards, we recommend that you replace the batteries about once a year. They're 2 lithium-ion coin cell batteries, just like watch batteries. And then the XRs are 2 AAA batteries. But if you're using them for just orientation and asking questions, I would definitely go with the RF cards. You just have a kit of cards, or students bring their own. Oh, I would definitely do the RF if you're just going to ask multiple choice questions. Make it as easy as possible. Yes.
Now that you have a variety of platforms
Yes.
or devices,
Yes.
do you have a sense of where sort of the trend is going? Are you seeing people using laptops, or is it all the mobile computing, or
You know what,
the cards?
I've seen more of a trend towards Responseware, especially probably the last 6 months. A lot of my schools have come up with mobility initiatives where the students have iPhones or iTouches as a requirement for certain programs, especially nursing program or a PT or dental and medicine. They're required to have some kind of PDA, and also many students do have their own laptops. And we do work with AT&T as one of our partners too, in terms of wireless and getting students set up with a data plan if they want to go towards Responseware Web.
Depending on who you talk to, ubiquitous wireless is a blessing or a curse.
Yes.
So this relies, as does the laptop, on a sort of wireless environment.
Yes.
You mentioned Respondus, which we have looked into, particularly for some of their lockdown browser capabilities, the ability to control what students can browse to inside a course. Do you have any experience or examples of people doing that with your product?
I do not. I can ask some of my colleagues and see if they have any specific examples of schools that have tried to lock down browsers and internet access within the class. I'm actually going to write that down.
I'll follow up too.
Okay. So Responseware Web. Students can download the app right from iTunes. You can also do very easy text entry and fill-in-the-blank essay questions. So for those of you who do not have a laptop in front of you, this is how it would appear either on the wireless device or on the web browser. There is welcome and ask for the session ID. Type in the session ID. And then you have the question, select the choice. And then the chart. Oh, did you see my attention span question? Sure did. Correct answer is actually 7 minutes.
Yep.
That was a study done by Campus Technology about 2 years ago. And then also the chart appears on the screen in front of you. So just a screenshot of what it looks like from the iTunes end. So a couple of highlights on the Response Card RF. Very compact. I've had people drive over them with cars and they still work afterwards. There's a 200-foot radius around our standard receiver. We also have a long-range receiver, which has a radius of 400 feet. So.
In the lecture hall too.
It's like, I think it's like 75 feet from front to back.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I have very rarely found that a campus does need a long-range receiver. Up to 1,000 students per receiver. And then also the Braille Card. The Response Card XR has all of the functionality of our RF card, except that it does have an LCD screen. So it does allow for a little bit more advanced options. You can do numeric text responses up to 16 characters, and also it allows for self-paced testing. Does anyone here take advantage of the self-paced testing option currently?
A little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. Is that where the student can go at their own pace with a predefined set of questions?
Yeah, pretty much replaces a bubble sheet.
Isn't the receiver the same thing, though? I mean, you have a receiver here, and in the previous PowerPoint had a receiver, but it's the same one, isn't it?
It's the same receiver, yes.
And this is also RF, too, right?
Yes. Yes.
Now, are you saying the self-paced is only on this
Right.
device?
Because it has the screen, so you can see the answers that you're submitting, and you can go back through and review.
So if a professor were to print out the questions and hand them out, could students use all of your devices to go at their own pace, or would it only be in this one?
If they wanted to go at their own pace, it would only be with this one. And also it does allow for firmware upgrades. There's a small little USB on the side of the XR card. So you can see if, we were to add a functionality later on down the line, all you have to do is plug it in, and we have an upgrade utility right from our website.
There's another RF card anywhere it's called, and I'm not sure.
Actually, I have that right here.
I have no idea what it is.
What this is it's actually a handheld receiver. So it works with the RF cards. So if you're teaching a classroom that maybe wasn't a smart classroom, or a nursing program where you're taking students to clinical sites, you can use this as a method of gathering your answers from the students. So with the RF cards, you can ask a verbal question. Is this situation true or false? Or press A for true, press B for false. And then you have all of the results collected right here on the screen. Yes.
So it saves the data until you can download the data onto your computer.
Exactly. Yes.
So this is something that you could actually take out and around, like say, we have a professor who a lot of times takes them out on kind of field visits during class. I'm thinking that, I think Karen Riedel does that, where they might actually be wearing
Right
mud
here.
boots and
Every
stuff.
day.
Oh, there you are. Yeah, so, I didn't see you, sorry. But would that, so you could actually do the polling as you're out trucking through the mud and
Yes.
everything?
Yes. Yeah, you can ask questions using the RF cards, like the little white ones you have in front of you, collect all the answers here. And then using a mini USB cord, upload those to the desktop application. Tie in a participant list, tie in point totals.
What about range on that?
Um,
Is that the same as
you know what?
the other one?
I
I mean, it'd be hard for them to hear what you're saying
Yeah.
if you're more than 200 feet
Yeah.
away, but.
And it
You're
doesn't,
very loud.
and it won't display the chart, right?
No, it does not display. We do have a display for it that we can, you can use a projector, connect
No, I meant
this.
the student doesn't get the feedback of how the rest of the
Oh,
answers.
no,
Right,
no,
That's
'cause-
what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, I mean-
That usually is what they sit there waiting for. That's why I asked.
okay. No, they do not get a chart. However, we do have a display that we call that you plug into the USB and plug it right into a projector, so
Right.
you can display them here.
Now, does that device that you're using
Yes.
only work with the RF card,
And the XR, it does work with the XR card, but I mean,
but not with an iPhone?
no, because it's just straight radio frequency.
Right.
There's no Wi-Fi.
It's not a small computer.
I mean, this is just another option that you have with our
Oh,
products.
I just saw it here, it was the same color as the other one.
Yeah, it's the same body, just different insides. So you can see the chart there, and then also this may say what the range is. I would say it's probably between 1 and 200 feet. Would make sense.
Let me ask you this. Sort of going back to the variety of platforms
Yes,
and devices.
yes.
You know, I could see students saying, okay, you know, Sokolov here wants me to get one of these RF cards, you know, so that I can do XYZ
Yes.
functionality in his
Right.
class. Everybody else, I could get by with my laptop or my iPhone. How do you avoid the tyranny of choice that students could be facing in terms of the functionality? I mean, if for one semester, you know, it looked like I could get by with my laptop, can I pay the fee for that and then trade in or get a card?
Well, we do have the 1-year licensing available for the ResponseWare Web, and that's $16. But we also, I would decide as a campus whether you want to go with the RF response card or the XR response card. Just as if you're going to, whether you want to do the, because not all students have as much as we'd like them to have one, they may not all have a Wi-Fi device or like a laptop or a smartphone, unless it's a requirement.
So I'm trying to understand
Okay.
what you folks see as sort of your base technology now. Is it becoming the
It's
ResponseWare
becoming
Web?
ResponseWare, but I mean, we're not phasing out any of our other products. Usually, if I have schools that adopt, they'll adopt the RF card and ResponseWare Web. So, you know, this is what's going to be used in the classes. The RF card for multiple choice questions. Great if you have a Wi-Fi device, you have the option of getting ResponseWare too. We're not at the, I mean, I slowly see it being where everybody has ResponseWare, and it's going to be the majority, not the minority. Okay, so we have 3 different ways to poll. I just touched on Response Card Anywhere, which is a handheld receiver. We have Turning Point Anywhere, which allows you to poll outside of PowerPoint. So it's a floating toolbar which will allow you to pull from Microsoft Word, a PDF document. The nice thing is if I have any Mac users here, you can poll using Keynote. And then we also have Turning Point 2008, which is our flagship product. It's truly native to Microsoft PowerPoint, Office 2003, Office 2007, and then 04 on the Mac. And then also for distance environments, we have something called Remote Poll, which if you have 2 classrooms set up, maybe you have the main classroom and then a satellite classroom at a different campus or a partner campus or an overflow room, you can have everyone polling with clickers and all of the results are sent to the professor to his computer. So you may have 30 students in front of you and another 20 students somewhere else, but you're gathering responses from all 50 students. The other room would just need a receiver and a computer hooked up, basically very similar to our ResponseWare setup. And then also ResponseWare, you can respond from any location as long as you have the 6-digit session ID. Yes?
If you were doing this in a computer lab, what is the typical way that people usually do that? Like a computer lab that's always used for a purpose, like we have English that have computer labs and we have general purpose ones. Are they bringing in clickers? Are they logging in through the web browser?
They're logging in through ResponseWare. It's just one less piece of hardware.
Yeah.
And
they have to have their own ID and everything for doing that.
Yes, or I mean, you can have what we call like a presenter's license, where you'd have an account just for 30 people to connect at one time. I hope I'm not confusing you with all the different licensing models.
You can set up a lab that's an occasionally used lab where people come in and they can do polling there without all the students having to pay to do it that day.
Right, and then when you logged in on the ResponseWare, correct? Remember how it said the guest ID? The students would type in, their first name, last name, and probably their student ID. So that just to keep it consistent.
Okay, and when it's one of those things like the guest thing, can you actually collect that information?
Yes, if it's the guest, you can collect the information. When you type it in, if you have It'll connect.
Associated with this, with the individual students or just aggregate?
With the individual student. So if you type in your name, I can see exactly how you've responded for every single question. Yes.
You mentioned that $16 to use ResponseWare for a year for unlimited number of courses.
Yes.
Is that right? What are the costs? Did you mention the costs for buying the units, the pads and so forth?
Yes, I've actually included that. It's in the packet here. That's always the million-dollar question. It's the second page. So we can see the unit prices.
And in all of these, does that include
It's-
everything at that point, or do you have to pay the $16 also?
For the response cards,
Yeah, for the response cards, you pay $28 and that's it?
That's
your only
it,
cost
yes.
For unlimited courses for a year or forever?
forever.
Ah.
I mean, let's say they were to go to graduate school and they are using Turning Point, they can use the card there. So, yeah, it's a good thing it's like those, what did I have? The TI-83 calculators. I bought one in high school and I'm so glad I didn't use it because I didn't lose it because I used it all through college. So, off topic, but we have the response cards. All of those are one-time fee. The ResponseWare, because it is a service, it's either an annual license or it's a 4-year license. So it's $16 for 1 year, and I didn't put the 4-year on there. It's actually $32.
For 4 years?
Yes.
Do you have any textbook publishers who are partnering with you?
We do partner with Cengage. They offer a rebate. So students that buy the card in the bookstore, they receive, I want to say it's a $10 rebate, or I believe it was $10 last semester. And then they just send in their receipt and they get a check. But we also partner with them for content too. So if you get any Cengage books, usually they're questions that are included are Turning Point questions.
Notice that the pricing is for 3,500 units.
Yes. I just took a ballpark from how many e-instruction units are on campus. I mean, the fourth page breaks it down for the different levels. I was presumptuous and just put the gold level down there. So, and as long as you're close, it's not set in stone. So if it's 3,000 units, we're not going to dog you. It's just a minimum order of 1,000. And more like goals. We just released Turning Point 4.1 this past February. Couple of different things in there. We have the Windows Vista 64-bit support, a couple different features. Now this will be probably the last big release until next year at this time, or we're not going to release any new PC versions between now and the beginning of fall semester. Just Turning Point toolbar. I showed it in Office 2007. I also have it in Office 2003. This is one of my favorite features in Turning Point. It's our data slicing. So if you want to respond and what is your role on campus? Oh, you know what? I need to open polling. Yeah. I reset with the ResponseWare. Didn't realize it. Yeah, because I showed how to connect to ResponseWare, we got a different session ID. So I apologize for those of you on ResponseWare. Yes, it's 425874.
People using the response card don't care about that, right? Isn't that automatic, or
The session?
Oh, the session ID? No, if you're using the response card, you care about the channel.
oh, the channel, right?
Yeah, the channel is for the RF and the session ID is for the ResponseWare web. I'm going to go ahead and close polling here. Looks like the majority of you are split between IT, professor, and we have somebody who responded with other. Just a random question here. What year did William Penn acquire the grant to begin his holy experiment? I know I'm in the wrong state for this, but there's a method to my madness.
Yes.
After polling is closed, no, but as long as polling is open and you see that green box in the upper right-hand corner, you can change your answer, yes. As long as you get that green light as confirmation, you're good to go. All right, I have 10 responses, 11 responses. I'm going to go ahead and close down polling right now. And so the correct answer is actually 1681. But now I want to see, okay, well, how does your role on campus break down with how you answered this question? This may be great for your admissions presentations that you ask. You can say, you know, what is your gender, and then also see, you can also tie those after the fact too. You don't have to do them right then and there. You can see how IT responded. You can see how those who chose professor responded. And other. So, yes.
So the current system we use allows students to see on the screen when they have replied. And they can also change their answer and know they're changing their answer, and they can tell that by the color on their screen.
I'm actually going to open this question up again just to demonstrate to you.
Grid.
Now,
Yeah,
I have a grid here. If you flip over your card, you can actually see which and then it changes color here. It would say their name.
Okay, then change it until it changes colors. Okay.
And then if you did log in as a guest, and like you were saying for the computer lab, if you typed in your name, it would, just for like that 30-seat license, it would say Liz M. or John Fritz.
Mine's a different color, no matter, depending upon which choice I select, is that right?
It changes color for when you change your answer, so you know that it's like a.
It was the original one.
Do we always know that color red is associated with choice one, or?
No, it's random. It's just
Right.
if you change your answer, it'll go to brown, and so you know that your answer was changed, but it's not tying brown to choice A or red to choice B. And if you just hit F7, it'll show up on this screen. And then if you have a large class, it'll scroll through and take up some of the screen.
Also, the flashing LED tells you something, doesn't it?
Yeah, the green flashing light lets you know that your answer's been accepted. And then if it flashes, I think it's yellow, then it hasn't been, or you press an answer that's outside of the realm of answers. Like if you press number 5. So Testing Point, which is our self-paced testing software. I know no one in here is using this. I can send you some more information after the fact. John, I can send you some information about it instead of getting into extreme detail here. But you can have random test copies, and you can also make an answer key, which are pretty much the main points about Testing Point. We have Turning Point Anywhere, which is in the process of being released right now. It does not require an install when you plug in the receiver, yes. So a couple of the new features. Different reporting features. Right now it's just a floating toolbar, start and stop polling, and there are about 3 different options. And we've also developed a relationship with Apple's as we release our new version of Turning Point Anywhere for the Mac. I believe our beta is supposed to be out here pretty soon. off the record. So turning point anywhere, start and stop polling, and then it just shows a generic chart right there if you choose not to use Microsoft Office. And then response card anywhere. I touched on this very earlier. And then our reporting wizard. If you're using Turning Point, we have 31 different reports which you can run within Turning Point. They're all displayed in Microsoft Excel. Just a couple examples. This is an individual scoring report. So you have the student's name here, the number of questions, if the I is if they answered incorrectly, C is if they answered correctly. We can run an attendance report just to see if the clicker or the student was there that day. They'd have a check mark. We can do a demographic comparison. So maybe for your admissions, you can ask a question, or for your students, you know, what is your major? And then you have a breakdown for every single question. So you can see, well, you know, I'm teaching a general chemistry class. I can see how my chemistry majors are doing versus biology versus physics versus marketing. And then also finally, this is the fourth screenshot I'm going to show. It's the turning results by question. Basically, it is the charts that are on the screen in front of you, but now they're in a spreadsheet. A couple different purchase options. Do I have any questions about?
Did I hear you say that it's all the software only runs on a PC presently, and it's a beta? Is the Mac?
No. We have Mac. We have Turning Point that's fully integrated into Office 2004 for the Mac. And then we also have what we call Turning Point Anywhere, which is a floating toolbar, which will allow you to pull from Office 08, Office 04, and Keynotes. And then we're in the process of releasing a new version of the Anywhere, which is the floating toolbar. So yes, we have both platforms. Yes.
With regard to these response cards, you've had them for a couple of years now?
Yes.
What's your product reliability stats look like? Are you getting reports that some of them just don't work?
It's less than 1% failure rates. I am going to be perfectly honest with you. When those RF cards first did come out, there was a short with the battery. So we did recall and replace all of those cards. You're nodding. You're familiar with their little battery issue that we had. They were gray-faced. Actually, I think I may have one. Not to get into the whole dirty laundry, but I mean, this is what the other ones looked like. We recalled them all. We replaced them. You know, at College Park, we took back all the students. I think there were 2,000 of them, and gave them brand new ones. So, you know, if there is an issue, we own up to it and we fix it.
Yeah. And you've got a mechanism to replace quickly.
Yes. I think we stocked the bookstore up and.
Do you have any data on reliability of response through ResponseWare? Connecting to ResponseWare?
Still a new product. We're working on that. The more options we have, of course, the more we're going to know too, even though we've done different tests and it's been out for about a year.
Yes. In terms of ease of upload, when finishing up an exercise in class, how do you get the information uploaded onto Blackboard or wherever you're keeping the grades?
Okay. If you're using Blackboard, under our tools, we have the Blackboard Wizard here. So assuming that you're connected to the internet, Blackboard Wizard, you have two options here. If you want to import your participant list or export the student data. If you want to export the student data, click Next. You would type in your server ID for your Blackboard, your username. I'm guessing on the password here. I think this is, and then you select the course. Click Next. And then the course that you want to go, what was the last one? Yeah, the institution. So here it would say University of Maryland, Baltimore County. And then if you click Next, it'll be the classes that you're teaching. So Accounting 212. I can upload the current session that we're in right now. And it's not going to match, but you can add grades shown, column header, maximum value. And you can also email students. Finish.
Can you save it to a local CSV file?
Yes, you can. You can save it wherever you want to. If you want to save it to a flash drive, network drive, desktop, if you're using your computer.
Flat file, just a standard flat file with the names and?
I would save the session file, which is a TPZ file unique to Turning Point, and then you can, export that to whatever you want to, CSV, Excel, whatever.
If you have like a very big classroom, like 300 students,
Yes.
does that take a little bit of time to get all of the response, or it just happen right away?
The responses are rather quickly. I was at a conference where we were polling 600 people in one room, and they came in rather rapidly. I want to say I had 400 responses in the first 10 seconds. So I think we're good there.
So that's 1,000 student maximum had to do with.
Per receiver.
Per receiver. So at Infocom, I think we had one of the larger AV shows. We had like 3,500 people in the audience, and we just plugged in 4 receivers. So, are there any other questions about like logistics? We have a couple different purchase models. The bookstore one, which you are probably most familiar with, where students buy the clickers in the bookstore. We also have what we call an e-commerce website. It's store.turningtechnologies.com. But if you go there, it will have just retail pricing. It will not have the gold level pricing. So you'd have a 4-digit unique code specific to Baltimore County, which would then have the gold level. It would then have this pricing right there on there, not our standard higher pricing.
Kind of a naive question.
Yes.
If I'm using a receiver for this, and I also have a receiver for my remote, is there any contraindication of using another receiver for a remote? Does it create any static or any?
Oh, if you have like a PowerPoint Proceed, which brand are you using? Okay, I had one customer, this is the only thing I've heard in like 3 years. She had a Kensington one, and whenever she'd press like the laser button, it would trigger like the F5 on Turning Point. But I mean, as long as you didn't press the laser button, she was okay.
It's the toy, it's the one you.
We're talking about the PowerPoint where you store
Yes.
and
You want to talk just a little bit about training and support?
Oh, yes. On the one sheet I've outlined, I've talked to the director of higher education specifically about this account, and what he would do is designate, we have, in our customer support team, we have seniors, which are people that are a little bit more seasoned. They've been there at least a year or two, and it's kind of like a promotion without being the manager of the department. We would designate seniors just to this account to take phone calls and yield emails. There'd probably be a couple of different just specific contacts for you to interact with. They're also available from 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And our product management's very involved. Product management's very involved with our clients. Our director of QA also, he talks to Chris Higgins down at College Park probably more than I do. Training, we have specific education trainers, and we can send down one of them for an 8-hour day once a year just to get everyone up to speed with different things that have been introduced, and then also training your trainers that are going to then go and train professors, I take it.
This is kind of a train the trainer sort of session?
We can do whatever you want to. A lot of my larger schools train the trainer, and then the trainers train faculty, but we can customize it to what you want to do. We can also do unlimited free Webex trainings too, like individual one-on-one if somebody wants to know more about Blackboard uploads and that type of thing. We can set something up on a one-on-one level for them. All the upgrades are included with the preferred pricing agreement. Any other questions? Any other things that jump out at you that I did not cover?
Yeah, I'm actually looking at the tutorials online right now,
Okay.
just seeing what's available and how it's laid out.
I think we'll leave it at that then, okay? So, join me in thanking Liz for.
Yeah.